Welcome to the Source of Commercial Real Estate, where we discuss all things non residential commercial real estate, including finding and funding deals, seeking opportunities, and discovering your competitive advantage. I am your host, Jonathan Hayek, and today I am talking with Randi Jo Pieper. She and her husband, Max, have been passive investors for over 4 years. Her beliefs used to be that she couldn't invest until after having a career of 20 plus years, but thank goodness she was wrong about that opinion. In 2018, Randi Jo and her husband attended their first real estate workshop in Denver. And since then, she and her husband have educated themselves on how to become passive investors and learned creative ways to invest their hard earned money into real estate instead of just the stock market. Currently, Randi Jo and her husband are part time limited partners in 3 multifamily and limited partners in 3 triple net deals. Their markets are currently Texas, Ohio, Alabama, Georgia, and North Carolina. Randi Jo, thank you for being here with me today. How are you?
Great, Jonathan. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Looking forward to this. Thank you so much.
Of course. I am grateful you're here. Why don't we get started with you telling us about your background, how you got started in real estate, and what your work in real estate looks like today?
Right now, I am currently a probation officer for the state of Colorado and looking at pushing 19 years of working in the community. And getting close to retirement, as we started back in, like you said earlier, 2019, looking into what can we do after we retire. My husband retired 2 years ago. So it's like we need something to do because I know I'm not going to be going on the beach and going here eating bonbons or whatever they say. So it's just like I need to do something because I'm a person that needs to be active and always doing and learning something new. So we thought we'd try real estate. So we got into, first off, we started out in Denver of doing fix and flip, got educated on that. Then the pandemic hit and it's like, ooh, don't know what to do there. So then we were introduced to multifamily. And that's kind of where it all started. And it's been wonderful to be an LP right now and kind of sit back and not have to worry about managing the property ourselves. And it's nice having those monthly or quarterly distribution checks right now to the, what they call it, checks in the mailbox type thing. It's been kind of cool.
Awesome. So the pandemic put a halt to your fix and flips. Coming out of the pandemic, I guess what changed either in your life or your mindset that caused you to not go back to fix and flipping? Because there can be some good money in flipping houses. So why not? Why didn't you just continue flipping houses? Why'd you go the limited route, limited partner route?
Um, yeah, that's a really good question. So right then it was the pandemic. So, but it's like that was one and done. So it wasn't like we'd have to find another one. And everybody, at that during that time is like, where can we find a good deal like we were there? And then our contractor we had one down in Texas. We were doing a team with a father-son team from Colorado, and we had one out of Houston that we were fixing in 2019. And it sold, bought it in March, supposed to be done like in May, June. And then that's when we sold it in October. So it took some time. And we learned a lot from that of we're not there. I know it's nice to go outside of state to do it, but especially when it comes to the multifamily, I kind of wanted to be there, be the boots on the ground. And then when the general contractor, he got sick and then his workers got sick, it's just like, there's got to be something more to this than just a fix and flip. So that's one reason why we moved to multifamily, because if you're out one house, like the units, you have 10 units and one's empty, you're better off, with the multifamily, more income coming in versus just having the one house and it's empty to rehab for the next person. It's kind of where we went.
There are certainly, there are certainly trade-offs. Fix and flipping can be really lucrative, but gosh, it can be stressful, especially when your contractor goes down, or sounds like in this case got sick. You could, it doesn't take much to talk to a fix and flipper to get horror stories about working with contractors. When you find a good one, you try not to let them go, but it's really hard to hold on to good contractors, and that's certainly the Achilles heel of any fix and flip. And so, if you don't have a good contractor, it's hard to make a good deal work. So tell me about how you learned about being a limited partner. You talked about getting into multifamily. I know you're also involved in some triple net deals.
Mhm.
For someone that doesn't have a lot of experience in real estate, being a limited partner can seem like a very foreign concept. Um, it's very difficult to wrap your head around that you can put money in someone else's deal and get returns back without doing anything. So what was it about being a limited partner in these large syndications? How were you convinced, and how did you learn how to do it?
Well, we had, when it went back to the fix and flip, we had started a program there. And then that program, one person reached out to us about the multifamily, and we knew nothing about multifamily. So she gave us tickets to go to the place here in Denver, and it was the Adams Adam. He had one set up here. So that's kind of how we got started learning more about multifamily. And Erica Neal, she was kind of met her and she asked us if we were passive or if we were active. And it's like, I looked at her weird, like, what are you talking about? So she's the one that took us under our wing and showed us and educated us like what LPs are and GPs are. And then we were able to find another program, listen to podcasts. Like she said, listen to podcasts, see what is a better fit for you. And then we ran across Rod Cleef's program, the Lifetime Academy of Cash Flow, and went to one of his virtual boot camps. And then that's how we signed up and got a coach through his program. And we were able to be mentored that way and learning more about that. He's got a great program where he has videos and all that kind of stuff, the difference between the two, LP, GPs, raising capital, all that stuff, if that's something you want to do. So that's how we kind of got started educating ourselves on the LP and taking that leap.
So it sounds like a lot of self-education. You
Mhm.
really took the initiative and you got involved in lots of different programs. You sought people out. Sometimes people sought you out, and it really seemed interesting to you. And so you really took the initiative, it sounds like. Tell me about, I've heard you on other podcasts before talk about a warrior group. And I know you just mentioned that you've been a part of other educational groups. So tell me specifically about that warrior group and how all of your education has formed you into being the investor you are today.
The Warrior Group is part of Rod Cleef's, and we go to boot camps he has, virtual or in person. He's had them here in Denver, which is great, and also in Florida. What has helped us is we've also had a coach that way too. We would meet in with for 6 months. We'd work with a coach, and they would educate us on what to do, how to get out there, how to do LPs, what questions to ask like brokers, or even to add. Because first I thought, well, I want to have my own unit, like my 10 unit. And it's like, more education I did on that, working a full-time job, it would take a lot to do, which it could be doable. But that time I wasn't interested in that part. I just wanted something where I can just take my hard-earned money and put it into an investment and watch it grow versus a stock. So that's how we learned through Rod Cleef's program is my warriors is networking with those people. And then those people know other people. So it's not all just in that one group. So I've met, like I said, Adam Adams through his group. Also with warriors. And then there's like Brian Briscoe, all those different people that are out there that have mentored me and listened to their podcast as well. And Jonathan, listening to your podcast too has helped me to think, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. I like it how you have it all set up this way. And I'm also getting educated more because you don't know everything, and every day is a new day and everything changes, especially with the interest rates, and people like being more conservative on letting their money go into these things too. So it's just been a learning every day, something new.
I want to go a little deeper into a concept that you just alluded to. I'm really big on encouraging people to find exactly where their niche is in real estate investing. There are a million different ways to make money in real estate. And most people automatically go towards being an owner operator. And you had talked about, well, maybe I want to buy a 10 unit apartment building somewhere. And I think that's where a lot of people's minds go to. Um, but it sounds like with the help of some of the people around you and your mentors, you rethought that and decided that really being a limited partner was the best situation for you. So, can you talk to me more about your mindset and your thought process in um, in deciding of whether or not you wanted to go the active route of being an owner operator versus what you ultimately have decided up to this point of being a limited partner?
I think what that part is, the limited partner is seemed easier for me because we had the savings to use, where we'd have the 10 plus unit. And if we were raising capital, I'm very introvert when it comes to asking for money. And I think I just wanted to be the pioneer or kind of do some more digging and educating myself before I'd go ask some family members, hey, we're going to go into this 10 unit. Do you want to join us? But if something were to happen, what if I were to lose their money? I think that's where my fear is. My mindset is there is I want to test the waters first to make sure it was okay to bring my other family members or friends along too, or coworkers. So that's kind of like, and then I got in there in the LP and it's like, wow, I like this. I really like this. So I'm not out there having to raise capital and I can sit back and let the money work itself. So, and have other people do all that for me. It's kind of nice.
Randy Joe, I'm learning that you are a thoughtful person and that it seems like you really want to do a lot of research and be well informed about something before you really get into it. And so I want to go into some of the deals in which you are a limited partner. So first, I want to talk about the operators that you're choosing to invest with. Or maybe before we get there, which is more important? Some people say invest with an operator. Some people really like to go deep on a deal. And so where does that fall in your mind? Are you investing with an operator? Are you investing based on the deal, or is it a mixture of the two?
Good question. It's pretty much a mixture of the two. It's like I need to know them, like them, and trust them, and get to know who they are first because I keep the emotions out, even though I know them really well and I'm really good friends with them. But I also need to make sure I keep those emotions out of it as well. So it comes to know the operator and then see what deals they've done in the past. And do they have any exit strategies? All that kind of stuff there. Like, do they do a full, I always forget the word for it though, but like they did a a reinvestment on it, like we have one, the first one we ever did was in Georgia. And I knew the operators and I trusted them. And it was part of one of my coaches too through Rod Cleef. So it was nice to trust him that way. And so that kind of, I learned a lot from that one. And that's kind of what I built. And then I do that for the other ones to invest again. I get to know. And even if it's a friend that I trust in the real estate that's been in it for years, I will ask them questions about the people that we're possibly looking at investing with. And so that's kind of where I go, a lot of gut instincts. And so it's done pretty good so far. So we've only been in it for 4 years, but so far it's been doing pretty good.
I want to go further into the operator. So, I want you to talk and connect with people listening who are maybe trying to raise money for a deal. Maybe they're early on and they're trying to attract investors a lot like you, people who have no interest in operating their own deals, but maybe they've got some savings or or a Roth IRA or a 401k that they can change to be self-directed. And so there is potential in people like you that have some cash and that are willing to be involved in real estate. So what are you looking for in an operator? You had talked about know, like, and trust. What does that mean? And what lessons can you give to operators listening to this to help them raise capital from people like you?
The first part is definitely getting to know their history and how long they've been in the real estate world, and just ask questions, interview them. What is your exit strategy on this property too? It's like, how long are you going to hold my cash? Because that makes a big difference too. So if they're going to hold it for 10 years, it might be that money would like to use maybe in 4 years versus 10 years later. So I just I think what it comes down to for our niche is how long they're going to hold the money. What's the exit strategy? And is there going to be any infinite return? And that's kind of what we're looking for too, is like the one in Georgia. They were going to only hold it for 2 to 3 years before they refinanced it, but they refinanced it in 18 months. So we got our capital back. And then now we're getting quarterly dividends too after they've refinanced it. So it's kind of nice that way. The infinity part of it is having that. So that's kind of what we look at as an operator. And also, what do you put out newsletters? How do you communicate with us? Because there's a couple that don't put out communication unless you reach out to them. So I think as a person that's an LP, it's like, if I can have your personal phone number, that means so much to me too. So if I can text you with a question, you get back with me as well. So pretty much all our LPs that we're into working with, they do have my number, and I also have their number if I have any questions. So that's kind of another thing too, is a communication, open-ended communication, and be honest, be transparent. I get it that, the numbers are going down, and like the one we have in Texas is we haven't got as much back, but it's okay because we knew they reached out and said, hey, taxes almost went 40% up, you know, in Texas on this one. And we didn't put that in the underwriting. So you learn from that, but it's like, we're still going to get it in the end, but it may not be as much right now. So as long as they're communicating, that's what I like. Cause I'm looking at this money as it would be sitting in the stock anyway. I don't need it. And that's the thing too, is like, make sure when you're investing that it's not your savings that you're going to need for just in case a rainy day. So that's kind of what that's how we invest.
Randi Jo, you've touched on it a little bit, but I'd like to learn, get some of your insight about mistakes that operators are making. You're involved in several syndications, and I'm sure you've seen some good things that operators are doing and some not so good things that operators are doing. And so, what takeaways do you have that you can give to other operators to be an excellent operator?
Definitely the communication, transparency, of what is going on. If something's going down, maybe we need to put a new swimming pool, fix the pump in the swimming pool. It might be takes a little longer, the plumbing or whatever it is. Be transparent that way. I'm trying to think of stuff that's kind of gone down with our stuff that we have in there, in what we've invested in. And like one we are invested into is that they're waiting. They get it done, but then something else pops up. The city comes in and inspects, and it's like, oh, this needs to be done now. Like sprinklers need to be put in, like fire sprinklers, whatever they call them. And it's like, we might be out another month. And it's like, ooh, I think that's just part of the game. It's a risk we all take. Real estate's a risk. Anything you do, cutting across the street, walking across streets a risk. It's like, just looking at it differently that way. But another thing would be, for definitely communication, and in the K1s, that's what I've noticed too, with the tax season now being tomorrow for some of us. And it's like the K1s aren't coming in. And I know there's a lot of CPAs that are working double time trying to get that stuff done. And I think just being more transparent, like, okay, we may not get our K1s done. So put your extension in sooner than later if you need to. And that's, but I think we've been pretty lucky with the people we've been working on, and just vetting ourselves, like, who are they, what have they done, and yeah, I've just been pleased so far.
I want to talk about what you look for in a deal. So we've talked about operator versus the deal, and I know you're also investing in some triple net deals. So I'd love to hear about what attracts you to the deal. Are you looking for the highest possible returns? Are you looking for the greatest amount of security, even though it might come with lower returns? Are you looking for liquidity or short term access to your money? What's important to you in the deals that you're investing in?
Right now, especially with the triple net lease, they're like a 3 to 5 year hold, and that was something new I just wanted to try and test, to see how it worked, because I'm trying to diversify our portfolio. As multifamily is great, triple net lease, we have one in a rehab facility, as well, and we're also invested in land. So it just in oil and gas. So it just like we just want to have more diversified, because if that bucket doesn't work, then what do we go on to the next one? And just trying to keep our money liquid that way. The deals that we look for is, I know it's hard sometimes to even have like 10% return cash on cash nowadays. So looking at that, but I think in the long run is like, how much you're going to triple my money to, like, if it's a 1.5, 2 times, which is a lot of them we've been seeing is 2 times our money. And that's kind of where we look at it too. And definitely no more than 3 to 5 year hold is what we're looking at. And infinity would
Great.
be great too.
Randy
Yeah.
Jo,
Mhm.
yeah, we all love infinite returns for
Yes.
sure. Randy Jo, I want to hear about the mindset part of being a limited partner, because you went a good chunk of your working career thinking that you couldn't invest in real estate until you'd been working a very long time and you had this huge stockpile, and then you did this education and you learned that you could invest in real estate. So I'd love to hear about some of the mindset shifts that you had to go through in order to start investing in real estate.
I think a big mind shift was real estate's going to stay, and it's going to be a solid, it's always going to be there. People need a place to live. Um, and the mind shift was, we deserve to also make more money. I think it is that the field I'm in is a field of service. And so my mom was a nurse, my dad was firefighter, undercover sheriff, and they just made ends meet. And it's like, I want more than what they had, I guess, in the mind. It's like, we deserve more. Everybody deserves more to have financial freedom. And that's where my mindset came into play. Just because I have this service job that I do, it doesn't mean that I'm not worth more. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but just having that mindset of like, we all deserve to have financial freedom. And it looks different to everybody. And I love, financial freedom to me is being able to leave a legacy of my knowledge that I've learned to leave for my nephews and nieces. We don't have children. So it's just like, okay, I want my legacy is going to be how I can educate them to do what I'm doing, if it's something they want to do. So just having different, I don't know, my mindset changes day to day. Sometimes it's like, okay, that one sounds good, but no, let's go this way, but I think just knowing that we do all deserve to have financial freedom.
That is such a great answer. I can totally connect with that. Was there a certain transformative experience, something that happened in your life that made you go, you know what? I deserve more than what I'm making right now. Did any one thing happen, or was it gradual over time?
Um, I think it has to do with my folks. They both are gone. My dad passed at 64 from a head injury, and my mom passed away at 77. And it's like they both died broke. And I know it's like, it's not that I wanted the money, but per se, but my goal right now is the mindset is my mom at the end. could not afford to live in an apartment. So she was living in a hotel with my sister toward the end of her life. So my husband and I have started this nonprofit called Perfectly Imperfect. It just on the ground. We've got we got it registered with the state of Colorado, but it's going to be for 55 plus people that are just in the middle, that donut hole where they don't make enough money, or they make or too much money to get the help they need. So our vision is to have even if it's a 10plex eventually, for people that can come and stay that aren't making enough money. Because rents go up. Like in Montana, where it happened was my mom, oil boom, 2013, 14. And so her rent was like 700. She could handle that with her fixed income, but then it went up to 1100, when the oil came in, and just trying to make ends meet. So that's kind of where this all came to play, is how can I give back? Where my parents, firefighter, undercover sheriff, mom a nurse, and they weren't able to really enjoy their whole life. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Thank you for sharing that, Randy Jo. That is a really powerful story, and a very powerful illustration of the power that real estate can provide people. I really connect with what you were talking about with deserving more. And it's not, and that word might rub people the wrong way. It's not a sense of entitlement, but I'm a former special ed teacher, and people that work in public service, like teachers, probation officers, firefighters, police officers, there is this inherent mindset of this is all there is. I'm just going to be a low paid worker for my whole life, and eventually, if I stay in this long enough, I'll have a pension, and that'll take care of me for the rest of my life, even though the pensions are definitely changing now. They're not what they used to be. But there is this pervasive attitude or mindset, almost it's almost kind of like a martyr mindset, where people just think, well, I've chosen the public service route, and this is just what my life is going to be. I'm not going to be able to do fancy vacations. I can't afford nice stuff. I'm not going to make a lot of money. What I have is enough, and that's just what my life is going to be. But you really can undergo this mindset shift, that understanding that, hey, public service is great. I was a teacher for 8+ years, and that was great, and we need teachers, we need probation officers, we need police officers and firefighters. But there is an additional way that you can do public service, but you also can have a greater life, and you do deserve more. And real estate can be that vehicle to provide additional cash for you now and in your retirement.
Definitely. And that's what I love about the mindset too, is trying to educate my coworkers, not clients, my coworkers, to follow suit. But it's like, I can only it's like, I want them to follow me through the same doorway, but sometimes only one person can go through the doorway, but I can lead the path. And if they want to follow, they can follow. And that's my hopes, is that they will follow too, even if it's just a little bit, just to get their feet wet, to see what it's like.
So tell me more about those conversations, because you are a self-described introvert, but I'm sure you have coworkers and family members and friends who are maybe in similar situations. And I'm sure you get the urge where you just want to share what you've got going on. And you're like, other people can have this. You can have this too. I'm sure you get pushback from friends and family that maybe haven't taken the initiative to do all the education that you've done. So tell me about, what do your friends and family think of what you're doing, and what are some of the roadblocks? Like what are what's some of the pushback that you get from friends and family when you describe to them what you're involved with in real estate?
I think a lot of it is, that's a really good question too, to figure out. It's a lot is that you go first, Randy. You try it first. See how it goes. And it's like, I think the fear, because we're all, right? If we on fear, everybody has some kind of fear. And it's a lot. I tell my clients or my coworkers too, it's like on the other side of fear is usually the rainbows, right? Because it's something we don't know. And if we don't know about it, we're not going to educate, we're not going to know unless we try it. And I think what I like to do is tell my clients, for instance, it's like, why aren't you doing this? Like you have this extra money, you've sold your house, and why don't you just put it into like a duplex or something that but they're like, oh no, I don't want to. Or like I have one coworker, she had a nice short-term rental in Florida right before the pandemic, and she was selling, she was able to do the short term there, and she got nervous. She goes, I don't like this, but she was banking it on the short term for this Airbnb. She was doing so well. She goes, I just don't like it anymore. I want to get rid of it. And she had it for maybe 18 months. And she goes, I made money. I said, good. Now what are you going to do with it? Are you going to reinvest it? No, I'm just going to pay the taxes on it. I'm thinking, what? I don't like real estate. And I was like, what? They've got to, I think my mindset's different than hers. And I think just educating her maybe more on it, what she could have done instead of spending all that tax on the 1031. So that's one instance for one of my coworkers I work with. But I think in my family too, it's like, oh, you do it. You got the money. You can do it. Or you don't have any kids. You got more money. And that's their excuse. And it's like, I get it that kids are expensive, but if you really want it, you will figure it out. And I can't figure it out for you. You have to be the one to figure it out.
Yeah, that's great advice, especially there at the end. Um, you know, a lot of people in my network are similar to kind of how I used to be public workers, and not I don't come from wealth by any stretch, and I connect with a lot of what you said that. People are often like, well, that's good for you. I'm just gonna, go back over here. I don't understand that. I'm not gonna get involved with that. Um, and just like you said, you can't force people to take action and to invest and to make changes for the better in their lives. It ultimately just has to be a decision that they make, and you can be a lighthouse and a guide and help them along in the process when when they really show an interest and start asking those more inquisitive questions about how to do what you're doing. But before they get there, you just, sort of have to encourage them and be helpful to them when the moment comes along.
Definitely.
Randi Jo, I want to ask you. I'm sure you've learned some lessons. We're getting to the later stages of our conversation. I want to talk to you about either a big lesson, a big mistake that you've made, or just a most important learning that has shaped your real estate investing up to this point. What's one of the biggest takeaways or lessons that you've had in your journey so far?
What's a saying say, when to buy real estate is now, today, not tomorrow. Sometimes there's stuff that's good deals and it's like, oh, I dragged my feet on it. My husband and I did. And it's like, oh, we should have done that. But in my mind, it's like, there's more fish in the sea. There's more stuff out there, but takeaway in real estate for me is just, I really enjoy it. And it's a people I think that I network with are amazing. And they're mentors for you. They're encouraging you to go bigger and to, do different things. And maybe it's not always real estate. Maybe you make really good friends too, that are lifetime friends that I've noticed different than a different path that I might have gone on. You have your coworkers you're friends with, but after you retire from that, are they still going to be there? But I think with real estate, I love the friendships, the networks you get out of it, and they're always educating me too, and vice versa. That's kind of my takeaway for real estate. I just like it.
Randy Jo, what is one mindset, tip, trick, or mantra that helps inform your investing?
I think it's just real estate's going to stay. It's here. It's going to stay. We need it. And there's just different things too. When you say that too, all the new creative ways of building with 3D, building houses, 3D, all that. That's what I'm really interested in, is learning how that's going to come into sorts too, building these big skyscrapers out of however the cement, however they do that, make them build a house in a week type of thing too. So it's always new and different things coming of it.
Randy Jo, if listeners want to connect with you or reach out, where would you like to send people?
I'm on LinkedIn. It's Randi Jo Pieper. LinkedIn there. Also, I am on, my email is randijopieper@gmail.com.
Great. Randy Jo, I sincerely appreciate your time today, sharing your expertise about being a limited partner. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation, please reach out to either one of us on LinkedIn. We're active and we would love to talk with you. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. Until next time, take care.